ma-podcast.
So anong point natin? Hindi na konsultang parents. Do not promote ang hypersexualization. When you look at the grade 1 curriculum, malapit na yan sa masturbation po. I-describe ang sexual parts ng mga bata. I-describe ng mga bata ang kanyang mga sexual parts using the different sense organs.
Bizarre claims, spread by a coalition of religious groups led by former Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno, threatened the passage of an anti-teen pregnancy bill in the Senate.
So hindi lang po word, no? Different sense organs. Touch. Why are children going to be taught to touch their sexual parts in a classroom of two of different sexes? Mediated by a parent, mediated by a teacher na stranger dun sa bata. Touch, smell, taste. Yun ang nasa DepEd curriculum. Alam po ba ng mga parents yan?
Improving and normalizing sex education is one of the main tools the bill is proposing to prevent adolescent pregnancies. But critics say false and misleading information is getting in the way. We walk you through how it all happened in this episode of Teka Teka, powered by Puma Podcast. I'm Bella Perez Rubio. Before anything else, let's talk about why the bill was filed in the first place. The Philippines has one of the highest teen pregnancy rates in Southeast Asia. By the United Nations Population Fund's count as of 2020, an average of 500 Filipino adolescents get pregnant and give birth per day. Recently, the Commission on Population and Development sounded the alarm over an increase in the number of girls aged 10 to 14 becoming mothers in 2023, no less than 3,300. That is nearly 1,000 more than in 2022.
Ang teen pregnancy ay isa pa ring national emergency at kailangan pa rin natin sa Senado na magpasa ng batas na makakatulong sa mga Pilipino.
Senator Risa Hontiveros is the principal author of Senate Bill No. 1979. But in January, at the very start of 2025, a new Facebook page called Project Dalisay emerged, posting a video that featured high-profile personalities like former Chief Justice Sereno, who strongly opposed the measure. Project Dalisay is an initiative of the National Coalition for the Family and the Constitution, a collective of religious groups. Sereno has since become the face of the movement, looking to impede the bill's passage and to stop the ongoing comprehensive sex education in public schools that the Department of Education rolled out in 2018.
Dito po sa Section 12 nitong SB 1979, pinopromote ang access. All adolescents shall have access to reproductive services and materials. Ano pong ibig sabihin nun? Condom, pill, IUD, pwedeng ma-access sa mga barangay at sa lahat ng government health services the moment that the child reaches 10 years of age. Provided, pag 15 and below, kailangan ng parental consent. Kaso, ang exception, pero pag nagsisex na, sexually active, hindi na kailangan ang parental consent.
Sereno failed to mention that adolescents covered by these exceptions are still required to obtain consent from a licensed social worker, doctor, or in their absence, a health professional accredited by the Health Department or the Social Welfare Office. There's also no mention in the bill of specific birth control tools like condoms or IUDs, nor is there mention of providing them to adolescents. Sereno's arguments hinge on one line that says the comprehensive sex education or CSE the bill mandates will be, quote, guided by DepEd and international standards, end quote.
Pag sinasabi naman na nitong SB 1979 na international standards, ano ba yung international standards? Dalawa lang yun eh. Pag tinanggap niya na it is the UNESCO, assuming wag nang itabi natin yung WHO, no? Pag tinanggap niya yung UNESCO yan, and the UNESCO standards are the ones, yan ang talagang sinusupport ng many international communities, UNESCO, UNICEF, UNFPI, even the WHO. Even though it has its own documents, sinusupport din yan, and the others. The moment natanggapin niya na yan ang international standard, then she has to face the problem that for 6 to 9 years old, 69 years old yan, no? Ang sinasabi sa page 71, masturbation does not cause physical or emotional harm, but should be done in private.
The problem with Sereno's assertions is that as she now has been compelled to acknowledge, there is actually no mention of masturbation in the bill. The Child Rights Network, a large alliance of child rights groups, accused Sereno and her group of deliberately misrepresenting the contents of the bill.
Actually, kahit sa orihinal na bersyon ng Senate Bill 1979, wala akong nakikitang problema nung phrase noon na guided by international standards. Dahil yun na nga lamang po yun, guided, ginagabayan ng, na halos maraming panukalang batas dito sa Senado ay maaring may ganoong phrase. And in the end, anyway, kung international standards ay isa lamang sa mga gabay, in the end, the buck stops sa ating konstitusyon ng Pilipinas. The buck stops sa kung ano yung konteksto at mga kultura nating mga Pilipino. Ibig sabihin, common sense, kung hindi akma sa konteksto natin, kung hindi akma sa ating mga kultura, ano pa mang international standards na maaring mayroong gabay, hindi yan makakapasok.
We get into how this rapid spread of false and misleading information has impacted the Senate bill's chances after a quick break. Within weeks, the campaign launched by Sereno's group caused several senators and even the president to come out against the bill. 7 lawmakers who had already signed on to the measure wrote to Senate President Cheese Escudero to request that their signatures be removed.
Over the weekend, I finally read in detail Senate Bill 1979, and I was shocked and I was appalled by some of the elements of that. You will teach four-year-olds how to masturbate. That every child has the right to try different sexualities. This is ridiculous. It is abhorrent. It is a travesty of what sexual and sex education should be to the children.
That's President Marcos speaking to reporters on January 20, 2025. But again, to be clear, there is no mention of masturbation or a right to try different sexualities in the bill. It's also not in the comprehensive sex education currently implemented by the national government. Here's Education Secretary Sonny Angara speaking on Kapihan sa Manila Bay.
Sabi ko i-review natin yung CSE dahil parang hindi nga tama, hindi akma o hindi akop sa age group yung tinuturo, yung konsepto na yun.
Yeah.
So, yung chinek namin, wala naman palang gano'n. So, but nonetheless, given what's happened, talagang i-review namin yung CSE.
But the false information had already spread too far, and years of momentum on this effort to end our teen pregnancy crisis seemed to grind to a screeching halt.
And I'm already guaranteeing hindi pa napasa ito. Pero if this bill is passed in that form, I guarantee all parents, teachers, and children, I will immediately veto it.
Hontiveros filed a substitute bill just 2 days later.
So this time, I hope the Senate gives this a fair chance.
Here's what's changed.
Sa substitute bill, tinanggal na po ang CSE ay guided by international standards na nakasaad sa orihinal na bersyon para hindi na mabaluktot ng iba ang ibig sabihin nito. Gusto natin na maging mas malinaw ng anumang ituturo sa ating kabataan ay sang-ayon sa kultura at konteksto nating mga Pilipino. Nilinaw na rin natin na ang CSE ay para lamang sa mga adolescents o mga batang edad 10 years old pataas. Yung paglimita din sa access to contraceptives without parental consent dun sa mga adolescents 16 years old and up, consistent po dun sa age of statutory consent law. Pang-apat, sinasama explicitly yung mga parent-teacher organizations bilang bahagi ng mga stakeholders na patuloy na kukonsultahin. Panlima, tinatanggal yung probisyon na ginagawa ang CSE bilang requirement para sa accreditation ng private schools. At last but not the least, nag-i-introduce nga po, gaya ng binanggit ko, ng clause na ginagarantiya ang religious freedom at academic freedom.
The bill is currently up for debate in the Senate, which will be followed by a vote. However, no schedule has been announced as of this publishing.
This matter is already in plenary, and the withdrawal of signatures doesn't have the effect of reverting it back to the committee level, gaya ng napag-usapan natin ngayon lang. Any objections by other senators should be expressed in plenary through questions and other proposed amendments. Kaya, gaya ng nabanggit ko, ang susunod na mangyayari ay nakadepende sa gagawin ng body sa plenary. Sa plenary, taking into consideration the substitute bill filed. Sa simula pa lang, malinaw na ang inaalma natin ay ang fake news, ang disinformation, ang lantarang pagsisinungaling. CSE or Comprehensive Sexuality Education is just one of the preventive measures to combat adolescent pregnancy, na isa lang sa mga probisyon ng Prevention of Adolescent Pregnancy Bill. At ang maayos na implementasyon ng CSE ay tried and tested na epektibong paraan sa pagpapababa ng teen pregnancy. And along with many advocates, civil society organizations, teachers, and fellow parents, I uphold that what we are pushing for is an age and development appropriate and culturally responsive, culturally sensitive response to this national and social emergency.
And that was today's episode of Teka Teka. I'm Bella Perez Rubio. If you'd like to hear more of our coverage of reproductive health policy, we'll leave a few episodes for you to check out in the show notes. This episode was edited by Anthony Tobias and produced by Jill Caro. Thanks for listening.